Washington, D.C. is an international city, a center of power, a home to presidents and filled with memorials to our country's splendid past.
You might think of this city as a faraway place, one you only see on the nightly news or read about in the newspaper.
But right now, you have an opportunity to win an all-expense paid trip to our nation's capital.
Listen closely for the next few minutes, because this is the Youth Tour, looking at our past, preparing for our future. For more than 30 years, the electric cooperatives of Texas have been sending Lone Star State teenagers just like you to Washington, D.C. on the Youth Tour. But the adventure doesn't start here. It starts where you are right now. So sit back, let the air out of your shoes, and pay attention, because you could be here next June.
Okay, so you work really hard. You write an essay or you give a speech, and you win a trip to Washington, D.C. Then they tell you you have to ride a bus for 3 days, and you begin to wonder. But it's really great. You get to do all kinds of neat things, like play wonder games. And when there's nothing else to do, you sleep.
The very first thing we did in Washington, D.C. was go to the Spirit of America. It was a very exciting and patriotic pageant that I enjoyed very much. It had Army men doing rifle drills, and there was singing and bands playing. It was so awesome because it made me really feel like I was in Washington, D.C., where so many things take place.
The Washington Monument towers 555 feet above our nation's capital. By law, it is the tallest structure here, and it was built to honor our nation's first president. From the top, you get a breathtaking view of all the other memorials and buildings that make Washington, D.C. such a special place.
To many people, the Smithsonian Institution is just a big red castle on the mall, but really it's a lot more than that.
The Smithsonian is a natural history museum that is quite a beastly place. It houses countless exhibits that tell the story of life on our planet, from the strange to the beautiful.
The Smithsonian is an air and space museum that has the world's first airplane ever to fly in. There are also a few other air and spacecraft here. I mean real ones that actually flew and set records, not models or mock-ups.
The Smithsonian is an American history museum that features some of the great moments from our nation's past. Here's the story of some of the technical and social accomplishments that our forefathers achieved and the legacy they left to us.
Actually, the Smithsonian Institution is the world's largest museum complex, consisting of 13 museums and the National Zoo, and you thought it was just a red brick castle.
Standing on the steps of the Capitol building gives you a feeling of excitement. You can't help but think of all the great Americans who have stood in this exact spot throughout history. Having your picture taken here makes you a part of that history. It's really something you should experience.
Did you ever consider yourself an ambassador to your community? Well, on the Youth Tour, you have that opportunity when you meet with your congressman in his office. He takes time out of his busy schedule to talk to you about what's going on in Congress.
Now some want to see us create the most gigantic entitlement program this country has ever seen. The President's health care proposal is the biggest entitlement proposal that we've seen since the creation of Social Security, and Social Security was a good program. But health care, we can't afford it like they're proposing it.
The National Archives houses the Declaration of Independence, which created the United States, and the Constitution, which safeguards our freedoms. Both of these documents are over 200 years old, yet they remain alive and vibrant even today. Seeing them in person really makes you appreciate being an American.
We went to the Sunset Parade at the Iwo Jima Memorial. They had a drill called the Silent Drill, which was awesome. They were tossing their rifles around, all without any commands. I really liked the guys in uniforms.
The FBI building, Washington, D.C. Only the elite of the elite get into this building. That's why they welcome the Texas Youth Tour with open arms. Here we get to see high-tech forensic laboratories, learn about some of the most notorious criminals ever born, and witness a live arms firing demonstration. We'd like to show you some of these things, but if we did, we'd have to shoot you.
Our visit to Ford's Theater was like stepping back in time. The presidential box looks exactly like it did the night in 1865 when John Wilkes Booth shot President Abraham Lincoln. Downstairs is a museum that houses artifacts from that event, like the clothes Lincoln was wearing and the gun Booth used to shoot him.
We went to a musical comedy at Ford's Theater called The Hot Mikado. There was a bunch of dancing and a bunch of singing, and so I had a blast.
On Rural Youth Day, all the states came together to participate in the energy battle, which is set up kind of like a college bowl. They ask you questions about history, government, and electric cooperative.
The Department of the what? Interior. Interior is right.
The Washington National Cathedral is a spectacular 14th century Gothic cathedral that is the 6th largest in the world and 2nd largest in the United States.
This cathedral was originally an idea of George Washington, who wanted a place where all denominations could come and worship. It took more than 90 years to construct and was built entirely with private contributions.
Inside, this is a structure that dazzles the eye with beauty and grace. There are countless stained glass windows. Each one tells a story that ranges from Bible tales to experiences in modern life. There's even a window that has a rock from the moon in it.
After all the touring and all the sights, we finally came together in one big dance. Everybody was there and we danced all night till we dropped. The Texas people, we really showed them how it was done.
Mount Vernon is the home of George Washington, the father of our country. He once remarked that no estate in United America is more pleasantly situated. Inside, this white Georgian mansion has been lovingly restored to its original splendor. As you walk through the house, you get a real sense of history and what life was like in colonial America. Not far away is the final resting place for the man who did so much to create the United States of America.
Arlington National Cemetery contains the graves of more than 200,000 American soldiers who fought for America from the Revolutionary War to Desert Storm. The headstones are in exact rows, no matter which direction you look at them. This signifies that the soldiers are still in formation and are ready to defend America, even in death.
I helped lay the wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier in Arlington.
It was a very moving experience to be a part of this. It was an incredible feeling because you were part of what the guards were doing, and it was incredible while you were down there. It seemed like time was standing still, but yet it went so fast.
I thought about who this person really was, who the parents of this person, because it would be never known, only to God.
We visited the Jefferson Memorial just at dusk, and as the sun was setting, you could see the outline of the statue inside the pillars. To me, Thomas Jefferson represented a president who gave his all toward education, and he appreciated the emphasis rural America made upon and impact it made upon the government. This memorial is very special to me because I admired these qualities in Thomas Jefferson.
We visited the Lincoln Memorial, and as I walked up all the steps, I started to think about how many obstacles Lincoln had to overcome in his presidency. When we got to the top, I looked at the statue, and he was so stern, and you could see that one side of his body was real tense and worried, and the other side was calm, and reminded me of how he had to be as a president.
The last thing we did in Washington, D.C. was visit the Vietnam Memorial. Before I actually visited the memorial, all the names of my dad's friends were just last names. And I didn't realize that they were real people. And I cried so hard just because I simply realized that my father could have just as easily been in their place. As I stood and looked at the statues of the 3 soldiers from Vietnam, I started realizing that they're like me and they're like my father. I could look into their eyes even though they were stone and see their pain. The new statue for the women for Vietnam War was great. I felt like they've just now been recognized for their greatness.
Lookout Mountain, Tennessee is where the Youth Tour traditionally holds its Father's Day devotional. We ride the world's longest cable car almost a mile up into the sky. It seems like you can almost reach out and touch the clouds. At the top, the experience is very emotional and moving. After more than a week as traveling as one big family, we know that soon the Youth Tour adventure will end and we will have to say goodbye to all our newfound friends. On the Youth Tour, you make all kinds of new friends, especially your roommates. You really get to know these people and what they're really like.
Friends are like something special that you keep into your heart. And coming on to this tour, it was like I didn't know if I was going to be able to make friends. And after getting to know every single person, it's a sad part to have to leave everybody.
Well, that's the Youth Tour, a trip where you can visit Washington, D.C., take a look at our nation's past, see how government is run, and of course, feed your friends. Do whatever it takes to be here next year because this is definitely the experience of a lifetime.